caught my wife's affair on camera, the reality wasn't what I expected. I never thought I'd find myself in this position, sharing something so personal with the world, but here I am. My name is Sam, I'm 36, and my soon-to-be ex-wife, Lisa, is 34. After 8 years of marriage, we hit a bump that I thought we could work through. But then came a devastating discovery, something that started unraveling the truth one small piece at a time. It all started innocently enough. For months, Lisa had been more distant, coming home late from work, her phone always glued to her hand. I brushed it off as stress. She was working hard for a promotion, or so she said, and I didn't want to be that oversuspicious partner. But deep down, there was a small voice inside me that couldn't ignore the unease growing in my gut. The signs were subtle at first. She was frequently working late and occasionally had to cancel our dinner plans. I was understanding, even supportive, thinking of her job as a temporary phase. But it escalated when I noticed her phone buzzing constantly with notifications. She would quickly hide it or turn it face down whenever I walked into the room. The atmosphere shifted, becoming tense, filled with questions I dared not ask. One evening, after she had forgotten about our anniversary dinner for the second year in a row, I found myself confiding in my best friend, Tom. He listened intently, a concerned look crossing his face. "Sam, you need to know what's going on. If there's nothing, at least you'll have peace of mind." So, I took his advice, though it felt so invasive. I set up a small camera in our living room, just to see if there were any clues to her late nights or secrecy. At first, the camera didn't catch anything suspicious. Days turned into weeks without a hint of proof. Just as I was about to remove the camera and chalk it all up to my imagination, something happened. One night, while reviewing the footage, I saw her come in with a man I didn't recognize. My stomach dropped. They laughed, shared whispers, and although they didn't do anything overtly inappropriate, the intimacy was undeniable. It was the kind of connection that ignited the very worst thoughts in my mind. The following days were a whirlwind of emotions. I felt betrayed, furious, and utterly confused. I didn't want to confront her without solid proof, but I knew I couldn't let this slide. My mind raced with the possibilities. What if she really was cheating? I started keeping a journal of everything I had observed, desperate for clarity. One evening, I decided to confront her directly. I calmly waited for her to come home, rehearsing what I would say in my mind. Lisa walked in, cheerful as always, carrying a takeout bag. I greeted her, hiding the turmoil beneath my composed facade. My heart raced as I pulled up the footage, showing her the man entering our home, the laughter echoing in the background. To my shock, her reaction was not what I expected. She froze, her eyes wide. Rather than breaking down, she laughed nervously, her voice trembling. "It's not what it looks like, Sam. Really, it's not." She explained that the man was a colleague she had been helping to practice a speech for an upcoming conference. A part of me wanted to believe her. We had built a life together, shared dreams, and even talked about having kids soon. But I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. Days turned into nights filled with sleeplessness and despair. I tried to trust her, but the visual evidence haunted me. Every time she reached for her phone or stepped out for errands, my heart would race. My mind turned against me, spiraling into paranoia. Tom, as always, was there, encouraging me to dig deeper. He suggested I install another camera, just to confirm if she was lying. With a heavy heart, I set up a new camera discreetly in the kitchen, one place I knew she wouldn't check. The thought of catching her in the act was agonizing, but I needed closure. The next few days dragged on painfully, filled with an anxious anticipation that gnawed at my insides. When the footage finally revealed itself, my world crumbled once again. Lisa came home, laughing with her colleague. But this time, it wasn't just casual conversation. They stood close together, whispering and laughing, and as they drank, the atmosphere shifted. The camera captured them sharing a kiss, not just a peck, but a lingering, intimate moment that felt like a dagger to my heart. My worst fears had been confirmed. I was devastated, but instead of acting rashly, I decided to confront her with this new evidence. I could barely hold back my emotions as I pulled the footage up again. Lisa's face drained of color, and in that moment, the carefree laughter vanished, replaced by a tense silence. She tried to speak, but the words caught in her throat. "I can explain, Sam," she finally stammered. But this time, I was not in the mood for explanations. I felt like I had become a mere shadow of my former self, consumed by betrayal and heartache. Her words were nothing but echoes of empty promises. The conversation turned into a full-fledged argument, fueled by emotions that had been building for months. We exchanged words that cut deep, wounds that would take time to heal, if they ever did. Just when I thought I had reached my breaking point, something unexpected happened. Lisa broke down, confessing that she had been feeling trapped in our marriage. She described her struggles with mental health, the pressure of societal expectations, and the loneliness that had grown between us. In her eyes, I could see the pain, and for the first time, I recognized that her actions were not just about infidelity but were rooted in a deeper struggle. It didn't excuse what she did, but it forced me to reconsider everything. We decided to go to counseling, hoping to peel back the layers of pain and resentment. The sessions were grueling, exposing raw emotions and buried feelings that both of us had ignored for far too long. It was painful, but I felt as if we were finally beginning to communicate. As we continued to navigate the rocky terrain of our relationship, we stumbled upon something unexpected. During one of our sessions, Lisa revealed that she had been keeping a secret for years. She had always wanted to have children, but the fear of being a mother in a troubled relationship had paralyzed her. The idea of starting a family with me felt impossible, given our struggles. In turn, I opened up about my insecurities. I confessed that I felt I had lost my identity in the marriage, that I was no longer the man I used to be. I missed the adventurous spirit that had once defined me, the very spirit that had attracted Lisa to me in the first place. Our sessions became a sanctuary where we could voice our fears and desires without judgment. Yet, just as we began to rebuild, an unexpected twist shook everything up. I received an anonymous letter at work, detailing everything about Lisa's affair, things I had thought were only known to us. The letter warned me that she was still seeing this man and that I needed to be cautious. My heart raced as I read it, a new wave of betrayal washing over me. Had she lied again? Was this a cruel prank? The revelation sent me spiraling. I confronted Lisa, showing her the letter, and she denied everything vehemently. In that moment, I felt like I was losing my grip on reality. My mind flashed back to the moments we had shared in counseling, where I believed we were healing. Could this truly be happening again? To make matters worse, I sought solace in my old friend Tom, who had been there for me throughout the turmoil. I needed someone to validate my feelings, someone who could tell me if I was crazy for still holding on. As I relayed everything that had happened, I noticed a flicker of concern in his eyes. "Sam, you deserve happiness, but you also deserve the truth. You can't keep going through this cycle. Maybe it's time to think about your own well-being." Those words echoed in my mind as I took stock of my life. The person I had become felt foreign, weighed down by the pain and confusion surrounding my marriage. I knew that I had to make a choice and either to fight for this relationship or to let it go. In the end, I decided to confront Lisa one last time, but this time it would be different. I laid everything out on the table, my feelings, my doubts, and the letter. I expressed that I wanted honesty, no matter how painful. The moment felt like a turning point. As she looked into my eyes, I saw a mixture of fear and regret. After a long pause, she confessed that she had been seeing someone else, that the other man had become a crutch during our hardest times. It felt like the ground beneath me had crumbled. But rather than breaking down in anger, I felt an overwhelming sense of clarity wash over me. I realized that the path to healing couldn't be achieved through deceit. I knew I had to prioritize my own happiness and well-being. We had to part ways, no matter how painful it would be. Lisa understood and agreed, and while it felt like a loss, it also felt like freedom. The aftermath was surreal. The process of separation brought its own challenges, but I started to find myself again. I reconnected with old friends, picked up hobbies. I had set aside and slowly began to rediscover the man I once was. I started therapy for myself, focusing on healing and self-love. In a twist of fate, as I began to heal, I received a message from Lisa months later. She had started her own journey of self-discovery and was working to become a better person. We exchanged messages of support, and while it didn't erase the pain, it brought closure. Looking back, the ordeal taught me valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of being true to oneself. I realized that sometimes, letting go is the bravest thing you can do. Now, I stand on the cusp of a new beginning, ready to embrace whatever life throws my way.